show us that we couldn't have been who we need to be if we hadn't gone through that. Wow. But what you want to give us is the most awesome, closest to you. And you did that. You hid from us and made like you weren't there. But in order to be with us in the deepest level. Wow. Thank you so much. So what I wanted to get to is the thank you, right? That someday we'll understand how so deep it was, our relationship with the Ein Sof, that we'll be thanking Him for millions and billions and trillions of years. So let's connect to that thank you now. And when we're thankful, even in the midst of difficulties, and when we're able to know that it really is coming from Hashem's love, right? Then we're opening up the channel. Now what happens at the revelation of the Yud Gimel Midot HaRachamim, what happens at the revelation of God's mercy, is that it says, Hashem, Kiel Rachum Hanun. So the movement, there's two possible movements here. You're supposed to bow down when it says, V'yavor Hashem al panav vayikra. And one of them is Hashem. The first one is you're still coming up. And the second one is up. The Zeir Anpin is praying up to Arich Anpin. It's not God praying to God. It's not two gods here. It's one aspect. It's called the aspect of reward and punishment, the aspect of measure for measure. Saying, I need mercy. I need to be sweetened. I'm being too tough on them. The mamish need me to be... And so it's, so to speak, Hashem praying to the higher aspect of His own plan to reveal more of that deeper love right here. The other way is to come up more quickly. Vayavor Hashem Apanav Vayikra Hashem. Go up into the higher one first and stay there, like we did before with the meditation. Hashem El Rahum Hanun. So it's not just Hashem being merciful and telling me that He forgives me, but me being merciful to myself and allowing that to come in and to wash into every part of myself. So I'm not explaining it like, completely perfectly, but the ideas are so delicious. I had to share them with you. So let's sit with that for a second. The idea of the example of the father coming to the realization that he's working at cross purposes with his own deepest desire for his child. Oh my God. And realizing I'm destroying my relationship with my son. I don't want to do that. Good. Clear that with yourself. Don't ever act like that again. Don't ever do that to anybody again. Who are you? Destroying your kids, destroying the whole generation of kids because you want them to be frum. Frumkeit has to be the sweetest, the loving, the most beautiful thing in the world. I guess I feel like I'm Shlomo's talking through me. Not purposely, it just felt like that. I saw him sometimes when he was like fire. So that idea is, we can embody the same idea, so to speak, on some level that we can't even understand. But so to speak, if it can be said, the same dynamic exists with Hashem.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I'm really troubled by this section. It really bothers me because the part where Hashem's name is said twice, I think is it's always been a big question mark for me because we're all about unity and oneness. And how could the highest prayer, which is supposed to be our sort of key?
We say it 26 times on Yom Kippur, like right. It's a really big thing by us.
It's a very big thing. It's like the essence, and yet it poses such a big question, which is why the double Hashem.
Again, Hashem is one. The different modalities with which He interacts with us. That's what Kabbalah is about. Kabbalah is very unity-oriented. There is only oneness. But the different modes, MD comes from midah in Hebrew. Modulation, medium, modification. These are all MD words. They all have to do with channeling down in specific frequencies. He has different frequencies with which He interacts with us, but He Himself is one. Moshe asked, show me now the way behind all your ways. There is only oneness, but there's different channels of how that oneness interacts with us. So I hear you being bothered, and I'm willing to hear more, but I really want you to know you're right. It truly is one. And when we use two names of Hashem, and the Kabbalah allows us to even think about two different modalities, we have to be very careful. And I'm very careful in my books.
Yeah.
I'm not giving out cheap information here.
Yeah.
And I bring my sources, and I bring the most grounded sources that we have: the Maharal, the Ari, the Zohar, the Talmud, and the prophets.
There was something that you said earlier that I really loved about how Hashem was showing Moshe how to transform within himself in order for it to reflect how Hashem. So it's not really a changing within Hashem. It's more a changing within the person that it gets reflected.
Good.
So I felt like that really resonated for me because it's showing that Hashem is unchangeable. Hashem is always one. But we have to go through some kind of process in order for that relationship to, it's like a conversation. You need to have some kind of, what do you call it, something reflected within you in order to create the opening within Hashem.
We have to have this book. Because there's things I didn't say that are written here that are very important. What is prophetic vision? What does it mean to see a vision of an Ancient of Days? Is anything can represent God? No. So I bring Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, most beautiful explanation of what prophetic vision is. And it's not God. It's God using my mind to create an image that I can see. And then what I go through in this book is I say, you know what? What really happened? Here, in order to reveal heaven's response to our tshuva, which is normally hidden from our eyes, we are shown a movie. We see Moshe standing before a shining apparition of an Ancient of Days, whose garment is white as snow, and the hair of his head is like pure wool. Quote from Daniel. But wait, Moshe too is dressed in white and has a long white beard. Indeed, if we were standing there, and if we could see Moshe as well as what he was seeing, we might see two identical figures, literally two Moshes. At first they would be facing each other, but as one of them calls out the ineffable name, followed by the other over and over again, something very powerful happens. The two figures begin to merge into one. Is it Moshe calling out or the Ancient of Days? Down in Rashi it's Pshat. Rashi says that it's God calling out. Ibn Ezra says it's Moshe calling out. So we learn that God called out and then Moshe called out. And then we go further, that they become one in front of our eyes. And Moshe calling out is God calling out. So you might not want to go there at first. Like, what are you doing? It's a little dangerous, right? God calling out through Moshe? Well, what is God calling out his name for? Although this sounds quite radical at first, it's really the deeper archetypal reality behind all prayer. Doesn't Hashem say to Moshe at the burning bush, quote, who gives man a mouth? Or who can make a person dumb or deaf? Who gives a person sight? Or who makes him blind? Exodus 4:11. When the Torah states, Vayavor Hashem al panav vayikra, Hashem passed over his face and he called out, the he, which is capital He, and also a small he, ambiguous, and he called out, it is not only talking about Hashem calling out followed by Moshe, it's telling us that Hashem called out through Moshe, and that Moshe's calling out is Hashem's calling out through him. By extension, it's also telling us pay attention when you speak, especially when you speak words of Hashem's Torah. So I'm going full circle, back to Abraham. Be careful to be noting that when you speak, when our existence, our ability to speak, to think, to be, in all the different ways that we are, at that deep, deep inner level, which when we become aware of it, it's life transforming for us. That's what I'm going to now. That by extension, We can learn like this, that when we speak, especially when we speak words of Hashem's Torah, which themselves have become incorporated into the prayers. Which I was saying before, that the entire prayer system is Torah made into prayer. Torah made into prayer. And they become transformed in the process from Torah to prayer. But it's the same words. But if you do a Pirush, a commentary on Shema Yisrael in the Torah, you'll have to do a different Pirush on Shema Yisrael in the Siddur, because it's being used differently. It's now coming through me and going back up to God. And this is exactly what the Baal Shem Tov said. Quote, when you speak, do not think it is you who speaks. When you speak, do not think it is you who speaks. Don't get caught up in the duality. Because the Baal Shem Tov is so deep. What do you mean? We talked yesterday about the subject-object duality. We have to basically live in that. If we get united once in a while, which is again the subject of tonight, that and mamish incredible experience of uniting with Hashem, that I don't know who I am. Wow, right? And then the separation again. But at that deep level which the Baal Shem Tov lived at, don't fool yourself. When you speak, don't think it's you. Rather, it is the life force of the blessed Creator within you that speaks through you. When you become aware of this, you elevate speech up to its source and divinity. And then we come full circle back to Avraham, that when he called out in the name of Hashem, that he was calling out Torah, and he was praying, he was gathering and praying up, and he was channeling down. And every one of us do like this now. Channel down your Torah into yourself, Hashem's Torah into yourself, and open your hearts and give it to everybody here. And then gather everybody's prayers together into your heart and lift them up to Hashem. So you see a beautiful fountain, right? The fountain that becomes stronger and more powerful every time when our prayers become impregnated with Torah, and we know what to pray for. So, I bless us all that we're not afraid to go into states of unity, states of union with Hashem. Not to be afraid of the implications of that I lose my little I and the big I. And to love that process, because He always gives me back more big I into my little I, until I become more real in my I. Wow, what a wonderful gift, right? What more is there to say? Who wants to say anything? Anybody, please, open up. Yeah.
I'd like to say something that I read about Shlomo a long time ago. That it was, he said something when you're put on the spot.
So talk just a little bit higher.
When you're put on the spot, meaning when somebody asks you to say something, he said, you have to say something, because if somebody's asking you to say something, it's because there's something that you're supposed to be saying at that time. And then he told me, this second part, I don't know if he told me or somebody told me or what it is, so that before you make that speech, that pronouncement, whatever it is that you're supposed to be saying, you remember what we say right before the Amidah, which is Hashem Svatay Tiftach V'Ti Yagitei Ratecha. And really, it's a reminder of that blessing that, may our words really be blessed with Hashem. I just want to add
The truth